how to tell if you are stuck in childlike psychology and false identities, or if you are truly living in your most authentic, aligned, magnetic, and mature self. So here's 2 sneaky ways that the childlike psychology still pervades our adult life. And this has taken many, many, many hours and dozens of coaching clients to really see this pattern clearly. So the first way to tell that you're still stuck in childlike psychology is if you perceive that you are controlled or have been controlled by somebody else, usually a parent. So let's say your dad was really domineering, really had a lot of influence over your life, and you tell the story that your dad just made all the decisions for you and that your dad kind of controlled you and you didn't have a say. Well, that's actually not true. That's the childlike psychology speaking, because actually the sovereign version of this story is that ever since you were 7 or 8 years old, you had a sense of self and you were no longer in the hypnotic brain state. So from 7 to 8 years old onward, you could have absolutely rebelled against your father, not towed the line of what he wanted for you, not agreed with him, not followed his plan for your life. But why you didn't make that choice, because there always was a choice, there always is a choice, is because the alternative to doing what dad wanted for you was to disappoint dad, to make dad angry, to actually have to feel the tension and conflict or passive aggression from dad. And when dad was angry or disappointed and projected that onto you, you felt like a bad kid. You felt like a bad person. You felt like a failure. Those are your false identities being formed in childhood. So the alternative to really choosing the authentic path, even as a young one, was so much scarier than trading authenticity for dad's acceptance. So you just went along with what dad wanted, and now that you're an adult, you call it control. I was controlled. I was coerced. I was dominated by dad. No, you weren't. I know it feels that way to the child, but that's just the childlike psychology. As you really work to alchemize these identities and feel the hurt and change the narrative and start to digest those experiences, you realize that you were making the choice to go along with what dad wanted all along. And anyone you think is controlling you now, from your spouse to your boss to your ex, you're making the choice to let their influence pervade in your life, and you don't need to. That's just the child speaking. You can be the hero, go on the hero's journey, and step into your full, authentic, heroic self. The second sneaky way I can know that you're still in your childlike psychology as an adult is if you're still living in good versus bad, right versus wrong consciousness. So what does this mean? When we're little, our parents are always telling us, because they're trying to impart social standards and moral code, and that's all well and good. So they're saying, don't eat that, don't do that, you should do this, eat that, that's good. So they're telling us what's good versus bad, right versus wrong. And if we're still living for the approval of mom and dad, waiting for validation that what we're doing is right, what we're doing is good, what we're doing is not wrong, we're not going to be punished by mom and dad for what we're doing. If we're still living for those kinds of childlike constructs in any way, we're going to be paralyzed in all our decision making. And I see this all the time with clients. I have so many clients that tell me, I just don't want to make the wrong decision here. That already gives it away. The genie's out of the bottle. Like, you're telling me that you're still living for some parental consent of your choices when you exit childlike psychology, dissolve and alchemize those old identities and step into your true God-given identity and authentic self. You realize that there's really no good or bad in this game. There's no right or wrong either. It's just your responsibility to take responsibility for everything that you've done up to this point, and to now align with your authentic creator self and follow your highest excitement going forward without concern for whether somebody else thinks that's a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. It's about following your highest excitement and your inner integrity and staying on your path that is between you and God, and no longer about what your parents think or what your boss thinks or what your spouse thinks. And that is full freedom and individuation. And that is something so few people have. But if you're there, if you've exited childlike psychology, bravo, you're doing amazing. A round of applause. But most of us, we're still struggling, and myself included. And if you need some help getting rid of these false identities, dissolving them, alchemizing, truly alchemizing yourself from your childlike psychology to your fully sovereign, healed, authentic, adult, mature psychology, I am here to help. This is my specialty in my coaching and acupuncture practices. And reach out to me anytime, baby.